Welcome back to Coins Numismatic series, the channel where ordinary coins reveal extraordinary stories and hidden fortunes. Today we're taking a close look at two Roosevelt dimes that continue to surprise collectors around the world. At first glance, they may seem like common 10-cent coins, but the right date, outstanding condition, or a rare mint error can transform them into collectibles worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Whether you're searching through pocket change, inherited collections, or old coin albums, this guide could help you spot a valuable treasure you never knew you owned. So stay with me until the end because every detail matters, and one small dime could become the highlight of your entire collection. 1957 Roosevelt Dime. The 1957 Roosevelt Dime is one of the most fascinating coins in the long-running Roosevelt Dime series. Although millions of these coins were struck during the late 1950s, collectors continue to pursue high-grade examples and unusual mint errors that have become increasingly difficult to locate. As a silver coin from an era before clad coinage, the 1957 Roosevelt Dime also carries intrinsic precious metal value, making it attractive to both numismatists and silver investors. More than 6 decades after it first entered circulation, this small 10-cent piece remains an important part of American coin collecting and serves as an excellent reminder that even common-looking coins can hold remarkable value. To understand the significance of the 1957 Roosevelt Dime, it's important to look back at the history of the series itself. Franklin Delano Roosevelt passed away in April of 1945 after serving an unprecedented 4 terms as President of the United States. His leadership during the Great Depression and the Second World War forever changed the nation. Roosevelt also became closely associated with the National Foundation for Infantile Paralysis, better known through its famous fundraising campaign, the March of Dimes. Because Roosevelt battled polio throughout much of his adult life, the United States Mint selected the dime as the denomination that would honor his legacy. The Roosevelt Dime officially replaced the Mercury Dime in 1946 and has remained in production ever since. By 1957, the Roosevelt Dime had already become a familiar part of everyday American commerce. The United States economy was expanding rapidly during the post-war boom. Families were purchasing new homes, automobiles, and household appliances, while businesses experienced steady economic growth. Dimes played an important role in everyday transactions, purchasing everything from newspapers and candy to public transportation and telephone calls. Most people never imagined that decades later these ordinary coins would become sought-after collectibles. The 1957 Roosevelt Dime was struck at both the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint. Philadelphia coins from that year carry no mint mark, while Denver examples display a small D mint mark on the obverse above the date. Together, the two facilities produced hundreds of millions of dimes to satisfy growing demand across the country. Philadelphia alone struck more than 114 million Roosevelt dimes during 1957, while the Denver Mint contributed approximately 46 million pieces. Although these production figures are substantial, far fewer survive today in pristine condition because most entered circulation immediately after leaving the mint. Unlike modern Roosevelt dimes, every 1957 Roosevelt dime contains silver. The coin is composed of 90% silver and 10% copper, giving it a total weight of 2.5 grams and a pure silver content of approximately 0.0723 troy ounces. This precious metal composition remained standard for circulating dimes until 1965, when rising silver prices forced the United States Mint to adopt copper-nickel-clad coinage. Because of its silver content, even heavily worn 1957 dimes retain value above face value whenever silver prices remain strong. The design of the coin reflects both simplicity and elegance. On the obverse appears the left-facing portrait of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, created by Chief Engraver John R. Sinek. Roosevelt's portrait displays remarkable realism despite the dime's small size. The word Liberty curves around the left side of the coin, while the national motto "In God We Trust" appears near the lower left. The date 1957 is positioned beneath Roosevelt's portrait. On Denver examples, the D mint mark sits just above the date, making it easy for collectors to distinguish between the two mint facilities. The reverse carries one of the most symbolic designs in modern American coinage. At the center stands a torch representing liberty and enlightenment. To its left lies an olive branch symbolizing peace, while an oak branch on the right represents strength, dignity, and independence. Around these central elements appear the inscriptions United States of America, 1 dime, and E pluribus unum. Despite its relatively simple appearance, the reverse design remains rich with symbolism that reflects the ideals of the United States. One reason collectors admire the 1957 Roosevelt Dime is the exceptional quality of many early strikes. During the late 1950s, freshly prepared dies often produced coins with crisp details and attractive luster. Roosevelt's hair, facial features, and the intricate torch bands on the reverse appear especially sharp on well-preserved examples. However, heavy circulation quickly wore away these fine details, making high-grade survivors increasingly scarce. Mint errors have added another layer of excitement to collecting the 1957 Roosevelt Dime. Although quality control at the mint was excellent, mistakes occasionally escaped into circulation. These errors now command significant premiums depending on their rarity and visual appeal. Among the most popular are off-center strikes. These occur when the coin blank is improperly positioned during striking, leaving part of the design missing while creating a blank crescent-shaped area along the edge. Coins struck significantly off-center while still displaying the complete date often attract strong collector interest. Another desirable error involves broad-struck coins. These pieces were struck without the retaining collar that normally keeps the metal confined during striking. As a result, the finished coin spreads outward beyond its normal diameter and lacks a fully formed rim. Broad-struck silver Roosevelt dimes remain popular because the error is easy to recognize. Collectors also seek clipped planchet errors. These occur before striking when the blanking press overlaps a previously punched hole in the metal strip, leaving a curved section missing from the coin. Genuine clipped planchets display characteristic metal flow and are readily identifiable by experienced collectors. Die cracks are another collectible variety. As steel dies age under tremendous pressure, tiny fractures develop that transfer onto coins as raised lines crossing portions of the design. Larger die cracks extending through Roosevelt's portrait or across the reverse torch create especially desirable varieties. Die chips can also appear when small pieces of hardened steel break away from the die. These missing fragments leave raised blobs of metal on the struck coin. Depending on size and location, these unusual features sometimes receive nicknames among collectors and become recognized varieties. Double-struck errors remain among the most dramatic discoveries. These occur when a coin receives two separate impressions from the dies. Slight movement between strikes produces overlapping portraits or duplicated lettering, creating spectacular mint-made mistakes that often command substantial premiums. One particularly interesting area for Roosevelt Dime specialists involves full bands examples. The horizontal bands around the torch on the reverse should appear completely separated by distinct lines. Most circulation strikes display weakly defined bands because of die wear or insufficient striking pressure. Coins exhibiting fully separated horizontal bands receive a full bands designation from major grading companies. These examples are significantly scarcer than ordinary strikes and often sell for dramatically higher prices. Condition remains the single most important factor influencing the value of the 1957 Roosevelt Dime. Worn examples showing moderate circulation generally trade close to their silver bullion value, although collector demand often adds a modest premium. Coins grading about uncirculated retain much of their original luster, while showing only slight wear on the highest points of Roosevelt's hair and cheek. These attractive examples appeal to collectors seeking affordable silver coins with strong eye appeal. Mint state examples become progressively more valuable as grades increase. Coins graded Mint State 63 or Mint State 64 remain relatively available, but cleaner surfaces and brighter luster quickly raise collector demand at Mint State 65 and Mint State 66. Prices increase noticeably because fewer coins survive with such limited contact marks and attractive original surfaces. These coins often become centerpieces of high-quality Roosevelt Dime collections. Examples certified as Mint State 67 are considerably scarcer. Their outstanding preservation, nearly flawless luster, and exceptional eye appeal make them highly desirable among advanced collectors and registry set competitors. The greatest excitement surrounds superb gem examples graded mint state 68 with full bands. These elite coins represent the finest survivors from the original mintage. Certified population reports indicate that only a tiny number achieve this extraordinary level of preservation. Because registry collectors compete intensely whenever one becomes available, auction prices have reached several $1,000s for top population examples. Such remarkable results demonstrate that even a coin originally worth only 10 cents can become an extraordinary numismatic treasure when preserved in nearly perfect condition. Proof versions of the 1957 Roosevelt Dime deserve special mention as well. Produced exclusively at the Philadelphia Mint for collectors, proof coins were struck using specially polished dies and carefully prepared planchets. Their mirror-like fields and frosted design elements create an appearance far superior to ordinary circulation strikes. High-grade proof examples featuring deep cameo contrast remain especially desirable and frequently command impressive premiums in today's market. Collector interest in the 1957 Roosevelt Dime remains consistently strong for several reasons. Silver coin enthusiasts appreciate its precious metal content. Roosevelt Dime collectors require both Philadelphia and Denver examples to complete their date and mint collections. Error specialists continue searching for dramatic mint-made varieties, while registry competitors pursue only the highest certified full bands examples. This broad demand helps maintain a healthy and active market. For anyone searching through inherited collections, old albums, or silver coin jars, the 1957 Roosevelt Dime deserves careful attention. Check whether the coin carries a mint mark, inspect the torch bands carefully, examine the surfaces for unusual mint errors, and evaluate its overall condition. A well-preserved example could be worth far more than its silver content alone. The 1957 Roosevelt Dime stands as an enduring symbol of America's prosperous post-war era and the lasting legacy of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. More than 65 years after it first entered circulation, it continues to reward collectors who understand that true value often lies in the smallest details. Whether appreciated for its silver composition, beautiful design, historical significance, or remarkable rarity in the finest grades, the 1957 Roosevelt Dime remains one of the most rewarding coins in the entire Roosevelt series and a perfect example of why coin collecting continues to captivate generations of enthusiasts around the world. 1987. Die Roosevelt Dime. The 1987 Die Roosevelt Dime is a perfect example of why modern coins deserve just as much attention as older silver issues. At first glance, it looks like nothing more than an ordinary 10-cent coin that millions of Americans carried in their pockets during the late 1980s. Yet beneath its familiar appearance lies a fascinating story of modern minting technology, changing collector trends, valuable mint errors, and condition rarities that have transformed some examples into coins worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. While the average circulated 1987 Die Roosevelt Dime remains worth only its face value, exceptional specimens have become highly sought-after collectibles, proving that rarity is not always determined by age alone. By 1987, the Roosevelt Dime had already been part of everyday American commerce for more than 4 decades. Introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the series had become one of the longest-running coin designs in United States history. Roosevelt's portrait remained virtually unchanged, continuing to symbolize his remarkable leadership during the Great Depression and the Second World War, as well as his connection to the March of Dimes campaign that raised millions of dollars to fight polio. Every Roosevelt Dime struck during the 1980s carried that same historical legacy while serving the practical needs of everyday commerce. The United States economy in 1987 was experiencing rapid technological growth and financial expansion. Electronic banking and automated vending machines were becoming increasingly common, creating steady demand for circulating coinage. The Denver Mint worked around the clock producing billions of coins every year to meet that demand. Although most people viewed dimes simply as everyday pocket change, collectors quietly continued assembling complete Roosevelt Dime collections, saving high-quality examples directly from circulation whenever possible. The 1987 Die Roosevelt Dime was struck at the Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark located on the obverse above the date. During that year, the Denver Mint produced approximately 962 million Roosevelt Dimes for circulation. While this was an enormous mintage, it was somewhat lower than several surrounding years. Even so, the coin remained common in circulation for decades, and millions of examples continue to exist today. Unlike Roosevelt Dimes struck before 1965, the 1987 D example contains no silver. Rising silver prices during the 1960s forced the United States Mint to replace the traditional 90% silver composition with a more economical clad construction. The 1987 D dime consists of outer layers made from 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a core of pure copper. It weighs approximately 2.268 grams, measures 17.91 millimeters in diameter, and features a reeded edge that has remained a defining characteristic of the denomination for generations. The obverse design continues the work of Chief Engraver John R. Sinek. Franklin Roosevelt faces left, surrounded by the inscriptions Liberty and In God We Trust, while the date 1987 appears below the portrait. The Denver Mint mark sits neatly above the date, allowing collectors to identify the coin's place of manufacture instantly. Although the design had remained largely unchanged for more than 40 years, collectors pay close attention to the sharpness of Roosevelt's hair, cheek, jawline, and lettering because these details play a significant role during professional grading. The reverse remains equally symbolic. A central torch represents liberty and enlightenment. An olive branch to the left symbolizes peace, while the oak branch on the right represents strength and endurance. Around the edge appear the inscriptions United States of America, 1 dime, and E pluribus unum. Even after decades of production, the reverse design continues to stand as one of the most recognizable images in American coinage. One of the reasons the 1987 D Roosevelt Dime has attracted growing collector attention is the surprisingly small number of nearly perfect surviving examples. Because these coins were intended strictly for circulation, very few people save them immediately after release. Most entered commerce, where they experienced years of contact with other coins, cash registers, vending machines, and counting equipment. As a result, truly flawless examples became far scarcer than the original mintage might suggest. Collectors searching for valuable varieties often begin by examining the coin for mint errors. Although the Denver Mint maintained excellent quality control standards during the 1980s, no production system is entirely free from mistakes. Occasionally, unusual coins escaped inspection and entered circulation, creating exciting discoveries for collectors decades later. One of the most dramatic errors involves off-center strikes. These occur when the blank planchet is not properly aligned between the dies before striking. The result is a coin with part of its design missing and a blank crescent-shaped area along one side. The farther the strike is off-center while still displaying the complete date and mint mark, the greater the collector demand generally becomes. Broad-struck errors represent another highly collectible variety. These occur when the retaining collar fails to surround the planchet during striking. Without the collar restricting the metal, the coin expands beyond its normal diameter while losing its raised rim. Broad-struck Roosevelt dimes are immediately recognizable and remain popular among error specialists. Collectors also search carefully for clipped planchet errors. Before striking, large sheets of metal pass through blanking presses that cut individual coin blanks. If the punches overlap, part of the blank is missing before it ever reaches the coining press. The resulting clipped planchet displays a smooth, curved section absent from the edge while retaining proper mint characteristics. Die cracks remain another collectible feature. Coining dies experience enormous pressure throughout production. Eventually, tiny fractures develop in the hardened steel. These cracks appear on struck coins as raised lines crossing the portrait, lettering, or reverse design. Larger and more dramatic die cracks often command higher premiums because they are visually distinctive. Die chips also occur when small fragments break away from the die surface. These missing pieces create raised metal blobs on the finished coin. Depending on their location, die chips sometimes become recognized collectible varieties among Roosevelt dime enthusiasts. Double-struck errors rank among the most impressive mint mistakes. These occur when a coin receives two separate impressions from the dies instead of one. Slight movement between strikes creates overlapping portraits, duplicated lettering, or rotated designs that make these coins instantly recognizable. Authentic double strikes remain scarce and highly desirable. Another category includes struck-through errors. During production, grease, cloth fibers, or other foreign material occasionally become trapped between the die and the planchet. These obstructions prevent portions of the design from striking correctly, leaving unusual recessed areas or missing details. Because each struck-through error is unique, collectors value them as one-of-a-kind minting accidents. One important feature advanced Roosevelt Dime collectors evaluate is the strength of the torch bands on the reverse. Fully separated horizontal bands indicate an exceptionally sharp strike. Major grading services recognize these superior examples with the desirable full bands designation. Coins receiving this designation are considerably scarcer than ordinary strikes and often command substantial premiums, especially in higher mint state grades. Professional grading dramatically influences the value of the 1987 Die Roosevelt Dime. Third-party grading companies carefully examine each coin under magnification, evaluating preservation, strike quality, luster, eye appeal, and surface condition before assigning an official grade. Circulated examples generally remain worth only their face value because of their large surviving population. Most have experienced years of wear that reduce collector demand. Uncirculated examples graded mint state 63 and mint state 64 remain affordable and are popular among collectors assembling complete Roosevelt Dime collections. These coins retain original mint luster, but usually display noticeable contact marks from storage and handling. Mint state 65 and mint state 66 examples become increasingly desirable because they exhibit cleaner surfaces, stronger luster, and improved eye appeal. Prices rise steadily as fewer examples survive in such attractive condition. At mint state 67, rarity becomes much more apparent. Coins at this level display exceptional preservation with only minimal imperfections visible under careful inspection. Registry collectors often compete aggressively whenever certified mint state 67 examples appear at auction. The greatest excitement surrounds superb gem examples graded mint state 68 or higher with the coveted full bands designation. These elite coins represent only a tiny fraction of the nearly 1 billion originally produced. Their nearly flawless surfaces, brilliant mint luster, razor-sharp strike, and complete torch bands make them some of the finest known examples. Because registry set collectors seek only the highest certified grades, auction prices for these exceptional coins have reached well into the thousands of dollars. These remarkable sales demonstrate that condition rarity can be every bit as important as low mintage. Proof collectors should remember that no proof Roosevelt dimes were struck at the Denver Mint in 1987. All proof coinage for that year was produced at the San Francisco Mint with the S Mint mark. Therefore, any 1987 D coin displaying mirrored proof-like surfaces should be examined carefully, as it is either an unusually reflective circulation strike or potentially an altered coin rather than a genuine proof. Collector demand for the 1987 D Roosevelt Dime continues to remain strong for several reasons. Roosevelt Dime enthusiasts require the coin to complete date and mint collections. Error collectors actively search bankrolls and dealer inventories for dramatic striking mistakes. Registry set competitors compete fiercely for top population full bands examples. Modern coin specialists increasingly recognize that preserving flawless circulation strikes from the 1980s is far more difficult than many people once believed. Another factor supporting interest is accessibility. Unlike rare 19th century coins that may cost thousands of dollars simply to own, most 1987 D Roosevelt dimes remain inexpensive enough for beginners to collect. This allows new collectors to learn grading techniques, identify mint errors, and appreciate subtle differences in strike quality before moving on to more expensive coins. For anyone searching through pocket change, coin rolls from local banks, inherited collections, or forgotten jars of loose change, the 1987 D Roosevelt dime deserves a careful inspection. Look closely at the mint mark, examine the reverse torch bands, check for unusual striking errors, and evaluate the overall condition under good lighting. Even though the majority are worth only 10 cents, an exceptional full bands example or a dramatic mint error could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The 1987 Roosevelt Dime perfectly illustrates one of the greatest lessons in modern numismatics. Age alone does not determine rarity or value. Instead, condition, strike quality, preservation, and genuine mint errors often separate an ordinary circulation coin from an extraordinary collectible. Whether admired for its connection to American history, its role in modern mint production, or its surprising potential value in top grades, the 1987 Roosevelt Dime continues to reward collectors who take the time to examine every detail. That brings us to the end of today's guide to two remarkable Roosevelt Dimes that continue to capture the attention of collectors around the world. If you enjoyed this video and discovered something new, don't forget to like, subscribe to Coins Numismatics series, and turn on notifications so you never miss another fascinating journey into the world of rare and valuable coins. Until next time, keep checking every coin because the next hidden treasure could already be waiting in your pocket.